Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulamilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantam Manapeta Apeta Krityam Rapayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Vinedus Tam Sarvabhutam Hridayamunimanatosmi. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudurayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshay Kiptashtakamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Brinde Namaste Charanara Tave Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we continue hearing the select verses of Sri Bhajan Rahasya by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and we begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padmanitya Vishta Om Vishnu Pada Stota Sat Sri Srimad Abhaya Charana Aravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru Pada Padmanitya Vishta Om Vishnu Pada Stota Sat Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj under our exalted Rupana Guru Varga, all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, Haribai, Sanyasigan, Joy, Joy. So now we're on text 35. Yesterday we heard some very excellent verses. Moving on, trying to understand the best way to accomplish anartha nivriti, how to cultivate our sadhana bhakti. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur has been drawing a lot from Sri Upadesamrta. And again, he's going to use some verses from that coming up. So in text 35, he quotes, he says, the 6 vows favorable for bhakti are described in the 3rd verse of Upadesamrta. He's already cited some later verses, and now he's citing this one, or the first 2, and then I think verse 4. Any case, remember yesterday we were talking about performing bhakti, the actions of bhakti, but with the favorable mood. We're trying to cultivate an appropriate mentality. Right? And this verse helps us understand that in our current stage especially. So it's Utsahan niscayet dhairyat tat karma pravartanat sangha tyagat satovrite sadbir bhakti prasidyati. This translation is, perfection in bhakti can be achieved by following these 6 kinds of practices. 1, to be enthusiastic in following the rules which nourish devotion. Are you enthusiastic, or are you just, doing it because you have to? You just want to cultivate enthusiastic, practice it, 2, to have firm faith in the statements of the scriptures and in Sri Gurudev, whose words are fully in line with the scriptures. Yes, and we've been talking about that faith being the real qualification for entering into bhakti, shraddha. That was the very first chapter, was all about that, right? 3, to be patient in the practice of bhakti, even in the midst of obstacles, or when there is a delay in attaining one's desired success. Well, yeah, we can all relate to that. Patience in the midst of obstacles, or when there is a delay in attaining one's desired success. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur addresses that in the Madhurya Kadambini. In the 3rd shower, in the 5th verses, he says that even Krishna may hide your advancement. You're practicing and practicing, and you think, oh, I'm not making advancement. And Krishna will keep it covered. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? I don't know if you grew up, depending on your religious background, but Christmas, big time of the year, right? Big time of the year. And parents always buy presents in advance, right? And the kids are just like, just their greed and eagerness increases day by day waiting for those presents, but they keep them hidden, right? And some kids are always looking everywhere. Where'd they hide the presents, Sneak into their room, look in the shelf, this and that. Why are they keeping them hiding? Why are they hiding them? Because the joy is so much more when they're finally all revealed at the right time. If you take those presents too soon, the whole Christmas is spoiled, right? The kid can't understand the real thing behind it. All they do know, though, is that when they finally go down that morning and there's that tree and all those presents, the joy, it's all worth it. The wait was worth it, right? So Krishna does that. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, for increasing our greed and eagerness and to make us humble. Because even in the Madhyam stage, if you see the kind of advancement that's being made, one of the things that comes along with advancement is even in Kanishta is Taranga Rangini, where people start praising you and giving you stuff, and you get position and opulence, and you're surrounded by success. It's very easy to get puffed up. Right, and think, oh, I'm the doer, I'm the greatest devotee, and that will derail your progress. But if you're always struggling, you always have to be humble and dependent and prayerful, because you have no other shelter. What are you going to do, right? You can't rely on your own abilities anymore. Bhakti doesn't depend on your opulences, your material opulences, your intelligence, your strength, your charm. You can get by in the world very nicely with these things, but in bhakti, What is it? Nayamatma pravachanena labhyo. Krishna says that none of these external things will give you bhakti, right? Even if you're a great speaker, you're very knowledgeable, all these things, the only time bhakti will come when he himself decides to bestow it upon you. And as the most loving personality, he's going to do it in the best way for each of us. So patience. 4, to follow the limbs of bhakti, such as Shravan and Kirtan, and give up one's material sense enjoyment for the pleasure of Krishna. 5, to give up association that is opposed to bhakti, like illicit connection between men and women, the association of those who are overly attached to women. And it's actually, if a guy is attached to women or a woman's attached to guys, that's pretty natural as long as you have a body. But you can refrain by discipline and practice. But if you associate with people that have a lot of material attachments and you make them your company, then they're always talking, always acting in such a way that just inflames your own natural attachment. So the most important thing is to be in good association and give up the association of people who are too attached, because you take on their qualities. You can't help it. Tiny little jiva. Also giving up the association of Mayavadis, atheists, and pseudo-religionists. The Dharma Dvajis. Dharma is religion, the Dvajis, they're waving the flag of religion. They talk about it. But they talk about it only to promote their own selfish purposes. They use religion for their own advantage. And in the Kali Yuga, you see that everywhere. Televangelists that enrich themselves in so many ways. What is that Bengali saying, that too much religion is a sign of a thief? There it is. Say it a little louder. Ati bhakti chorer lakshan. Yeah. chora lakshan, the quality of a thief, right? That one who's always spouting it. And that's true. It's easy to detect it in its obvious forms, like some of these people you see on TV. But even in devotional communities, that are very strict and people are practicing, the acquisition of comfort, but even more subtle, the acquisition of power and control and honor and respect, and then demanding that, right? Making other people subordinate and using them for your own means. Pseudo-religionists, they're the most dangerous, actually. Mayavadis, atheists, they tell you right out, I'm an atheist. Okay. Huh? Mayavads. Now, there's also Mayavadis who like Panchopasakas, who worship deities and chant. I don't know, you went to something last night, probably a lot of Mayavadis there, worshiping Ram, Hanuman. It's always mixed. There may be some people striving for personalist religion, but the age of Kali is so invaded by impersonalism. That's why in his prayer, his pranam mantra, Srila Prabhupada wrote that as a follower of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, his mission was Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatadine. He's going to preach the message of Mahaprabhu, but to do that, to sow the fields of bhakti, you have to break down the weeds and the forests of the jungles of impersonalism, voidism, nihilism, right? Very dangerous. Srila Gurudev would warn about that kind of association so much. I know a lot of stories about nice devotees who just decided they were comfortable associating with Mayavads, Mayavadi pseudo-yogis, and Gurudev warned them, and they lost their bhakti. They just lost it totally. And sixth, to adopt the good behavior and character of devotees. So, things to do and things to give up, right? So, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaj gives us some very good instruction here. He says, to maintain one's existence and to cultivate bhakti are both necessary for devotees. Right, we live in the world. Especially householders or most people, they've got to work, got to get a job, got to feed themselves, their family. But cultivating bhakti also necessary. The first half of this verse indicates the activities that nourish bhakti, and the second half describes how a devotee should conduct his life. Enthusiasm, utsaha, right? Good enthusiasm. Conviction, niscayet, right? Conviction, firm like faith, right? I won't give this up. Remember yesterday we heard that verse, Jato Shraddha Mat Katashu, that even while you are in the midst of so many attachments whirling in your hearts, in your life, even in the midst of performing bad activities, if you somehow or other maintain your faith and pray to Krishna, oh, please lift me from this condition. Even, remember the purport we read, even if you seem to be falling away from your bhakti, losing it, experiencing so many difficulties, but in your heart you're holding on to that. No, please, I don't want to lose bhakti. I don't want to give it up. Krishna will facilitate. He will help you. And in retrospect, oftentimes, many, many devotees go through ups and downs. But when you come out of a difficult situation, and if you're truly introspective, you may find that, actually, I learned a lot in that experience. And now I know for sure many lessons. I really can't enjoy in that way. These weren't really the kind of people that can help me in my real interest. So many different lessons can be there. These so-called teachers were not good teachers at all. you can look back. Everybody has their own experience. But if you don't give up that faith, somehow or other you're looking, that's my goal, that's what I want, Krishna will help. Krishna will help, right? So that conviction, that faith and patience, dharya, which we just mentioned, right? It's working, it's happening. Even when a plant grows, you've ever tried to grow tulsi, right? You get this little tiny seed and you put it in cotton and you soak the cotton, and is it sprouted yet? Is it sprouted yet? It might take days and days, right? But finally, oh look, there's a little sprout. And then very carefully put it in the soil, and every day you look, and oh, did it die? Did it die? And then finally a little tiny shoot comes up, and then 2 little leaves, and then 4 little leaves, but it seems to take so long, and then another set of leaves down there. And then one day, there she is, flourishing and beautiful, producing manjaris, everything. But everything has its own time. Again, in the Madhurya Kadambini, in that purport of that verse I described about how Krishna will hide your advancement, he says that when you grow a tree, a fruit tree, the ripened fruit, it doesn't come right away. The tree may even grow, the leaves, the branches, everything, but some trees, they take many, many years before the real fruit comes. In India, they have a saying, like coconut trees. You take care of this coconut tree for the first 10 years, and it will take care of you, right, for the rest of your life, right? Because it takes a long time to grow, but after that, coconuts, coconuts, coconuts. Every year, so many wonderful coconuts, which you could live on, just coconuts. Jackfruit trees. You know what a jackfruit tree looks like? Big, thick trunk, big, heavy branches, big leaves, and fruits that can get this big. Prickly, spiny things, on the outside. But it takes, I think, 5 to 10 years before those come out. But boy, when they come out, a ripe jackfruit, oh, there's nothing like it. I used to not like jackfruit because we'd always get the slightly unripe ones, right? Because people were impatient. And they had this aftertaste. They were okay, but they had this weird aftertaste. I don't like them, And I said, I'm not eating this jackfruit anymore. And Giri Dari, who's Giri Dari Maharaj now, he said, can't enter into Mahaprabhu's Leela then. I said, what are you talking about? He said, Mahaprabhu loved jackfruit. And he's joking in a way, but, he's also, very stubborn to get his point across. And so we argued a little bit happily. And so then we did get another jackfruit, and it was a special one. It was not even just a yellow one. It was this orange one inside. And I tasted it, and I couldn't believe it. I never tasted anything so sweet and delicious in all my life. And they're nourishing. I think they got protein. You can eat a full meal. One time we did a big program down by Mysore, and we didn't eat all day. And by the time we were serving out too. I just said, I can't eat all this. It's so late. But there's jackfruit there, and we just ate jackfruit, and we were totally satisfied. But, patience takes time to come and ripen. But when it does, so satisfying. Complete. Everything is there, right? So, Srila Narayan Maharaj says, enthusiasm, utsaha, conviction, niscaya, patience, dharya, executing activities that nourish devotion, tat karma pravartana, right? Tat karma, right? That kind of karma, that kind of devotional activity. Renouncing bad association, sangha tyaga, right? In this case, that sangha means bad kind of company. Tyaga means, right, to renounce. And adopting the good behavior and character of pure devotees. Sato vrite, sadvrite. Sato mean the saintly people. Vrite, to follow them, right? These are the means to attain perfection in bhakti. Not too hard. We can all do this, right? Just conviction, patience, I remember when I was growing up in the 50s, late 50s, there was this movie, right? Based on a famous musical on Broadway. And it was called Damn Yankees. And it was, back in those days, the Yankees were the biggest baseball team. They always won everything. And it was about this poor, struggling team. They could never win. They could never beat the Yankees. And they're just so depressed. And one of the songs is the manager, the beleaguered manager, he's trying to cheer up his troops. And he says, you gotta have heart, miles and miles and miles of heart, right? When the odds are saying you'll never win, that's when the grin should start. So that's bhakti too. You're always oppressed, by your mind, by the difficulties, but you gotta have heart, right? Enthusiasm, conviction. And when it becomes difficult, you just laugh, right? Oh, well, here we go again, Difficulty, that means Krishna's blessing me with some struggle so that I can become purified. Right? There's an old saying in the old Mathura Mat, if you don't like doing it, it's probably bhakti. Remember that one? Yeah. So Utsahan means to remain indifferent in every respect to the practices related to Gyan, karma, and anyabhilash, desires other than to serve Krishna. So utsaha, enthusiasm for what? Bhakti, indifferent to things that are not bhakti, right? Jnana, karma, and yabhilash, right? So that's the beginning of Rupa Goswami's verse. Anyabhilashita shunya, free from anyabhilash. Jnana, karma, adi, anavritam, and those things that cover bhakti. Reward-seeking activity, impersonal or material knowledge, yoga, meditation, all these other things. And also, indifferent to one's preferred variety of material enjoyment while steadily executing the limbs of sadhana bhakti, right? Don't fall back on your own favorite things, right? Your own variety of material enjoyment. Bhagavad Bhakti is the only ultimate objective for all living entities. Such firm faith is called niscayet, conviction. Straying to the paths of karma, jnana, and so forth makes one's mind restless, and following their practices only produces suffering in the end. Therefore, the firm resolve that the path of bhakti is the only constitutional path for the sincere living entities is called dhairyat, fortitude. Because you're going to struggle. That's a guarantee. Anybody who's embodied is going to struggle, right? Birth, death, old age, disease, that comes with the package. You can't avoid that. However, immersion in bhakti lifts one beyond the pain of these things. The body may be going through them, the mind may be screaming, but the attentive and dedicated soul somehow is not afflicted. I remember years and years ago, I was getting my chart done, right? And some guy was a good astrologer, and he said, oh, these years were very difficult for you. And it was a Jupiter period, but there's a lot of affliction. But it just coincided with these 10 years when I was in ISKCON. And he said, oh, you must have been very unhappy then. I said, those are the happiest times of my life. Right? Yeah, there was all kinds of struggle, constant, but we rejoiced in it, because we were doing bhakti and working to fulfill the mission of our beloved Guru. We always felt happy in that. These difficulties that just came off our back like water off the back of a duck. Just didn't bother us. Sometimes something would happen, but generally it was very happy time. So firm resolve that the path of bhakti is the only constitutional path for sincere living entities is called dhairyat or fortitude. If you take shelter of bhakti, then all your troubles, they'll just go away. They'll just go away, right? What is that other song? Put, put on a happy face. And let that sun shine all over the place. Talks about all these difficulties you've got, but then put on a happy face. That principle works in the material world as well. They have this saying, what is it? It takes, like 25 muscles to frown, and only 3 to smile. And some or other, when you smile, it produces hormones that make you happy. So, fake it till you make it. If you're not happy, just... and then, but for us, Hare Krishna, chant and be happy, right? So, Sri Haridas Thakur took a vow never to give up chanting, and he strictly adhered to it. Oh, very famous verse. Kanda kanda hahideha yaya jadi pran tabu ami vadane na chadi harinam. This is from the Adikanda, the Chaitanya Bhagavat, when they were telling him, become a Muslim again or we'll beat you to death. And he said, even if my body is cut to pieces and my life air exits, I will never abandon the chanting of Harinam. And he didn't. They beat him until his body was shredded. There was no more skin, the muscle was shredded. Srila Narayana Maharaj said all he was left was bones, right? Maybe some tendons. But his life air was in those bones and he was continuing to chant. And those who were beating him were aghast. And they were afraid, and they were afraid for themselves because they said, oh, Prabhu, if you don't die, then we will be killed. And he was so merciful. He said, oh, you want me to die? To protect them, he just collapsed as if dead. And in that state was praying to the Lord to forgive them because they're just stupid followers of a demon. They don't know what they've done. Kind of like Lord Jesus, right? Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. But Mahaprabhu didn't forgive them. He protected Haridas, but those who beat him like that and that person who ordered it all met disastrous ends, right? But he was so merciful, so they decided, oh, he's a Muslim. We should bury him, so he'll go to Allah. No, we shouldn't bury him. He betrayed us. Throw him in the river, and that way he'll go to hell. But they threw him in the Ganga, because Muslims, everything is opposite, right? Hindus grow mustaches but no beards. They grow beards but no mustaches. Everything they do is opposite. So anyway, they threw him in the river, and that skeleton body just floated on the surface until it went around the bend and they couldn't see it. And then a few hours later, Haridas came back completely revived, glowing, energetic, beautiful body restored, and they saw him and they realized, oh, he's a saint. I forget the Muslim word for that, saint, but they said, oh, he's a great saint, and they didn't touch him after that. And he never wanted them punished. He was completely detached. This is the ideal in the realm of bhakti. To cultivate the practices of bhakti, such as hearing Harikatha, performing kirtan of Bhagavan's name, and meditating on Bhagavan's name, form, and pastimes with firm conviction, like Haridas Thakur, as Tat Tat Karma Pravartana. In his last days, Haridas Thakur was struggling to complete his chanting. And he manifested sickness pastimes. Mahaprabhu came to him and said, oh, what is wrong? And he said, you've not even eaten. He said, I won't eat until I complete my rounds. He said, but you have to eat to overcome the sickness. And he says, my only sickness is that I can't complete my chanting. Completely dedicated to that. There was one devotee in the original Gaudiya Math, Srila Narayana Maharaj talks about him. I think it was Narahari Seva Vigraha, maybe him, or someone like him. And he would serve all day, taking care of the devotees, nourishing, nurturing, doing so much work in the temple. And then late at night, he would complete his Harinam. But he would be very tired, obviously. And he'd be chanting and be falling asleep. So he tied his shika to a nail so that when his head fell, he would be jerked. And he would wake up and he would continue to chant. He had that much determination. And by that, in the pastime of him developing in his bhakti, he was such a great devotee. He was like the mother of the Gaudiya Math. He was given that name, Seva Vigraha, the very form, the embodiment of Seva, by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. And when he disappeared, I believe it was Bhakti-Bhagan Keshavaraj who wrote that to our Srila Prabhupada, or told him, and Srila Prabhupada wrote back and said, when I heard about the disappearance of our dear godbrother, Narahari Seva Vigraha, I felt separation no less than the separation that I felt for our Guru Maharaj. When devotees become that tadatmik with their guru, when they become so much mamata, when they're so dedicated to the service of their guru, in the eyes of other godbrothers, they're like the guru. Wherever that person goes, you're thinking, oh, he's like my guru. He reminds me of my guru. I'm inspired in my service to my guru. You develop such attachment and affection for them. It's not artificial. It just happens. And that's how he felt about him, because he had such firm conviction and steadiness in his service. And he was known because of his affection and care for the devotees. Right? A lot of times devotees think that when I become advanced, I become detached from everybody. Leave me alone. No, I'm doing my bhajan, lock me in my room. There's time for that. But the more you care and nurture devotees, the more Guru is pleased. Right? Just like Krishna says, one who says he's my devotee, he's not my devotee. One who says he's the devotee of my devotee, he's my devotee. And Gurudev and Prabhupada both emphasize that. Guru has that same mentality, that you nurture those who are dear to the Guru, then he becomes very pleased with you. Therefore, only the association of Bhagavan's devotees is desirable. One should never associate with karmis, jnanis, or those filled with desires other than to serve Krishna. One should know such people to be less intelligent and indulgent. Right, they're just lazy, indulgent, sense gratifiers, and they only speak about bhakti to promote their own ends. And when they speak, they have no mood, no taste, no flavor, no understanding, and you can tell. And it just doesn't feel good to be with such a person, the hypocrite who pretends to be a devotee, but is not, right? You don't want that kind of association. Right? That's why we have to study these principles carefully, so that we can learn to discriminate between that which is favorable and that which is unfavorable. And that means both in activities and in association and in philosophy, right? One should know such people to be less intelligent and indulgent. Karma, jnana, ashtanga yoga, and so forth, which are devoid of the desire to please Bhagavan, are not steps on the path of bhakti. The path of bhakti is characterized by saintly conduct, sadhu vritti, because all virtuous qualities certainly reside within a person who possesses devotion. Enthusiasm for serving Krishna, conviction in service, being steadfast in Krishna seva, ensuring that all endeavors are solely for the service to Krishna, renouncing the company of all others except Krishna's devotees, and following in the footsteps of Krishna's devotees are the 6 practices that enhance bhakti. So one last point about this. We're hearing about that which is favorable, and who's favorable association, who's not favorable association. But what does association mean? It doesn't mean that to avoid the association of these unfavorable people, you never interact with them. It means you don't interact with them on a casual or friendly basis, but you can certainly preach to them, right? We have to preach to them. I mean, that's the whole world. That's all there is in the world, right? But the guidelines here are how to live a life of devotion and maintain the appropriate relationship and distance, right? That you never lose your compassion, never lose your vision that we're all spirit soul, and but for the grace of God, there go I as well. Somebody showed mercy on me. I was like that, right? And they took the time. They gave me a book. They preached to me, whatever. Gave me some prasad. They were kind to me, and they allowed me in their company and allowed me to hear their katha, and I became inspired, and they lovingly guide me and teach me and nurture me. If I'm living in the mat, they give me cloth, my medicine, a place to stay. They feed me, right? Association, right? We don't associate unfavorably with people. We always look for favorable, and that means madhyam, right? Prema, Maitri, Kripa, Apeksha. We show love, devotion, admiration for Krishna and pure devotees, Mahabhagavats. We associate in a very friendly way with our peers, with those who are practicing devotion, like us, madhyam to madhyam, right? Like that. And for those who are ignorant but innocent, or a little less than us, junior to us, we may be a little senior, we help, we show compassion, we give instruction, give guidance, give encouragement. But for those who are obviously envious and, consciously duplicitous, we avoid. Apeksha. We just avoid them. Don't give them any time. They'll feed off your energy. They're like vampires. They'll use you. Because if you've ever studied the symptoms of a narcissist or a sociopath, they feed, they manipulate, they use people. In the material world, everybody is a narcissist and a sociopath because we're all separate from Krishna. We're all serving our own interests. But there's degrees, right? There's degrees. And we're trying to get beyond that and become loving, serving devotees ourselves. But you have to beware and be able to discriminate between people that are innocent narcissists and sociopaths. Like we were. But even in devotional community, those tendencies can come out. So you have to be on the lookout for it and protect each other from it. That's why a little instruction, little chastisement, little guidance at different times is very, very helpful. Right? And to be aware and open to that on the receiving end is also helpful. And even if you get something that doesn't seem just, I remember one time, one sannyasi was chastised by Gurudev for saying something or doing something which he hadn't actually done, but Gurudev had been given the wrong information. And he chastised him in public, and then later he said, well, he chastised me. I didn't do that, but I've done so many other things that it applies to that. So he just took it in a very favorable way. Or he also said, or he's chastising me for something I might do in the future, and he's burning that seed of desire to commit that wrong activity. Either way, when we receive chastisement, we look at it in that way. Oh, that's good. Good for us, right? We tolerate, right, and appreciate. All right, so we'll have to stop here. I wanted to read some of Srila Prabhupada's purport in that verse, but maybe tomorrow I can do that. Because we got a lot of really great verses finishing off this chapter. So, offering a base to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, all of our Guru Varga, all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, Gaur Premanande, Haribo, Haribo.